Greetings YouTube and welcome to my next weapons build. Pardon the sound in the background, we have a humidifier in the basement because down here it gets really humid. So I have made this in a video you may have seen. If you haven't, go look up my wire tightening jig video. And this is designed to make clamps, and I had tried it with a 17 gauge wire and it really wasn't strong enough, so I went out and got some 14 gauge fencing wire. So this should do the trick. Now here is what I want to do. Here's the platform that I'm going to build this on. I want to mount this here. So I want to cut a slot so that the blade sits inside the wood. So there'll be about an inch in, and I'll have a slot which I will slide this through. And then once I have it slid through, my goal is to make two slots here and here with this brand new blade. So it's going to go zing and zing and make two slots. Since it's nice and crisp, I think I'll be able to go like, a little bit here, a little bit here, flip it over and do the same thing. Just make enough so it shows through. So what I want is a slot 3/4 of an inch, ½ inch or so in line with each other. I'll have to do some layouts on this obviously. And then I will use the wire to go through the slots after the blade is inside here, and then zip, zip, wrap it up and tighten in place. Since I'll have two of these, and this is 14 gauge wire, it should be plenty strong for holding this whole thing together. And I'm going for a different aesthetic. And I was thinking, because I've got a bunch of 17 gauge wire, which I'm not using for anything, I may try doing a wire wrap on the handle, just again for a different look. Kind of tie in the shiny handle wrap with the shiny wire up here, which is holding the blade in place as a clamp. So the first thing I want to do is take care of this slot. So I want this right here. So I want to put the blade this way. The slot, I'm going to put a hole here, 1 inch in, and then measure this and put a hole here, and they're going to be 5/16 because 5/16 holes are big enough for me to use my saber saw. And then I'm going to put a Sharpie mark on here, and I think a Sharpie mark will be just wide enough. If I can get the slot to be just the same width as the Sharpie mark, I think I can slide this in place. Once I have this done, I need to do the layout on this, slide it in, and then figure out where I want the slots to be exact. Cut the slots or grind the slots into both sides, be 2 here and 2 here, and then assemble it and wrap it. Now since I may wrap the handle before I put the final assembly, because working with this without a sharp blade in it is going to be much safer and faster. Working with it when it has a sharp blade will be slightly more problematic. So I already have my V-block set up, so I need to change the drill bit. I think I've got a 1/4 inch in there right now, so I need to get a 5/16 in there, and then drill the holes and then start cutting the slot. So that's the first task for the day. And then hopefully this thing will hold the blade in this thing, and not only will I have achieved my goal, which is the whole purpose of building this, but I'll have a new method for assembling items. And that gives me more flexibility, more creativity, and a different kind of aesthetic look to future builds. And that would be very exciting. All right, so first up, layout and then drill holes. So here we have that in the vise. I've got 2 holes, and I got the red Sharpie marker. So now I got to get my saber saw out, and I'm going to cut hopefully on this side of that slot, of that line, and then come back and nibble away till I make this whole slot, this whole line go away. Hopefully that will be wide enough to get my blade inside. And if I have to, I'll use some sanding paper and see if I can clean it up a little, if I need to make a little fudge here and there. That's hopefully the goal. We're going to see how that works. If anybody out there has a better method for cutting slots in wood, taking into account that I don't have a router nor a table saw, hit me up. I am all ears. So here we have the blade in place. Now, the slot on the top is quite lovely. Slot on the bottom is an absolute friggin' mess. top on the button to the top. It's just really hard to control this thing when I'm cutting freehand between those two holes. So don't worry, when I'm done, this thing will work. So this is the position I want it in, and those are the marks I have made that I'm going to then take the blade out, mark out where I want the two slots to be on this side and the two slots on that side, and then cut on this side of that line, this side of that line, boom, 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 and then I can wrap the whole thing. Excuse me, it's a little dusty in here at the moment. I don't have a dust collection on this thing. I really should get some. And so that's going to be the next stage. Take this out, cut the slots, and then probably wrap the handle next before I do the final assembly. Remember how I've mentioned in the past best laid plans of mice and men? Using that wheel to make a plunge cut and grind a slot didn't work. So I cut a slot, which is very, very messy, because originally I tried to cut 2 slots and it just ended up being 2 big slots. So I deburred it a bit, and this is what it looks like. I don't care what the back looks like. So this is a very ugly slot, but I'm okay with that. I really am. So now that I've got the slot the way I want, I need to sharpen this edge, and then this portion of the build will be finished. And then it's time to wrap the handle and then do the final assembly if the whole build works. We're going to find out if it works. And if it doesn't, I'm going to toss away a $1 blade and try something different. And I already have a bat with a slot in it, so I'll just put something else in there. But yeah, this did not work. I think my best bet would have been to drill 8 holes, which would have been very difficult because this is hardened steel, and then connect the holes with the cutting blade on my angle grinder. But that would have been a tough row to hoe. So this may work out. We'll find out. We're not done yet. And like I said, this is a post-apocalyptic build, so if it's rough around the edges, I don't really care a lot. I didn't end up wrapping it quite as far up as I intended. Because the way I wrap it, the wire began to twist on me, so I had to cut the wire off so I could get the twist out, and so that's as far as I was able to go. But I still think it looks really cool, and it feels quite nice. This is, like I said, the first time I ever tried this method, so I may work on this again on another project and see if I can perfect it. But I kind of like this. It does feel good. Of course, the ends are a bit of a... That one I got lucky. I was able to tuck it in there pretty close. I have to figure out how to get rid of those ends. So I'm going to do a little research and see if I can figure out a way to get the ends to be a little, tighter. This isn't like using nylon cord or paracord where you just melt off the end. That's not an option. It's steel fencing wire. But I do like... We're back again. I do like the look of this, and it has a nice feel to it. So I will be working on this in the future. I just have to figure out a way to keep the wire from twisting as much while I'm wrapping it, and I'm not 100% sure how to do that. I mean, ideally, if I could put this into a lathe and spin this at an incredibly low RPM, and then just let this do the twisting and me not do the twisting. So maybe if I can figure out a way to carry this spool around with me, it'd be very tedious, but it might avoid the twisting of the cable, or the twisting of the wire. Huh. It's an idea. I'll have to work on that. Alrighty, so now I'm going to put the blade in, and I've already got it all sharpened, and now we're going to see if I can get the wrap to work, even though the slots came out horribly. So here is the final build. This thing is uglier than hell, and you know something? I think I'm kind of digging it. I had to wrap it. I wrapped it twice through the slot, and then I wrapped it twice in an X. And in retrospect, I only had to do the X. I didn't need to make the slot. This is a prime example of overthinking a problem. Don't overthink a problem. I could have just used the X, and it would have held this in place, and it would have looked just fine. So I overthought a problem, I made a problem for myself that didn't exist, and then I had to overcome that problem. this is the nature of design. Sometimes you can get the nice simple design you want, and sometimes you don't. But it's secure, it's not going anywhere, and the wire straps I've made, you can see the bend over right there, are nice and tight, and my little device does work as advertised. And 14 gauge wire is definitely better than 17. I was able to break one of them, but the other one is fine, so I'm not worried about that one. Out of the 4 wrappings I made, so they're double wrappings, only one of the wires snapped where I didn't want to, so I've got 7 wires completely tightened up exactly where I want to, so I'm not going to worry about that 8th one. So yeah, this looks like something right out of a post-apocalyptic film. It really does. I overthought it. I shouldn't have overthought it. But now that I have this design, I think I've got to do it with a small saw blade and do the same thing. Just do a much better job with the slot. And I still have to come up with a way of making the slots the way they want to. I don't know how to do that. I don't know how to make the slots nice, and because the top is the exact width I want and the bottom is a friggin' mess. So I don't know how to get that slot yet. Again, if anybody out there has any ideas, I am open to suggestions, because I really need to learn how to make a slot in a round stock, or any kind of stock for that matter, so that I can get blades into bats and boards and things like that. You know, axe handles and things. So this has been quite intriguing. I like the way it looks. It is wonderfully primitive and ugly, and I'm kind of digging that. So now I'm going to go show my wife, and it'll probably terrify her. Then I'm going to take some pictures for the video and for my Instagram and for my DeviantArt page, and then we're done for the day. And then I'm going to go wash up, and at the time of this recording, we have an appointment to go look at a kitten. By the time you see this, I'm hoping we already have the kitten. That would be really awesome. So thank you for being here for this build. Stop by my DeviantArt page to see what's going on, and hopefully you'll be here for the next.